All right, we are here, and it is right now. It is the UFC 323 Fight IQ preview presented by RotoWire, here to break down every fight on the 14-bout slate for the last pay-per-view of the year, headlined, of course, by the rematch between Merab Dvalishvili and Petr Yan for the bantamweight title, and of course that co-main event, and some would argue the more compelling bout. It is Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van for that flyweight strap. My name is Chris Olson. I am here with the boys as always. It is never a burden, Drake Burden, and Sun Tzu. Joe, fellas, how you doing? And what do we say for the last pay-per-view card of the year? What do we say for a card this size, 14 fights, with the two title fights up there? How you looking at it with all the fights? What are your builds looking like? What kind of early bets are you looking at? And what are your earliest breakdowns? And let's go to Drake first. Drake, how are you looking at the card overall?
You're going to me because I'm shorter than Joe.
I'm just throwing it up.
What is your height, Drake?
No, not that. I keep things nice and short.
Yeah.
You're so long-winded.
Okay.
So for the last pay-per-view of the year, and almost it's the second to last card of the year before we have a 6-week break.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to this card. There's a lot of fighters that I really enjoy watching on this card. DFS should be an absolute blast. There's plenty of dogs to like out there. Lots of good betting opportunities. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm always looking forward to Merab and Van fight.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be should be something special. By the way, if you see me munching on these Halls vapors throughout the podcast, is because I am getting over a cold, but I'll hit the cough button as like a pro. And Joe, of course, getting over his own cold.
So no, actually, my cold is kicking in.
Just starting, yes.
Yeah, so I'm actually drinking hot and sour soup.
We have some competing maladies here, but we will try to truck through it at like the pros that we are. To wit, Joe, how you feel about the card?
Okay. Yeah, look, I like the card. I got my research started a little late, so I may defer to you guys on a few things. I have some strong opinions about a couple fights. I have some really great narrative on Macy Barber Silva, which I'll happily share with everybody. It's PG-13, so I will share that. Honestly, like we have a card next week, which is on my birthday, and then we got a 6-week break, which I'm actually kind of cool with. I mean, I think this might be the longest break that I could recall.
Yeah.
Since I really started following UFC in like 2015. So I'm kind of looking forward to it, get a few things done in my life, and then kind of kick off the rest of the year strong. I did, as a result of the last pay-per-view card that we did together, was it the last pay-per-view? Yeah, his last pay-per-view card. I made Diamond in DraftKings, which was really hard because of their whole method of having to accrue tier credit. So I did get Diamond last year. I did not make Diamond. So I'm looking forward to all those awesome Diamond perks that DraftKings gives people. But yeah, I like the card. I mean, I don't think it's as good as what was the card that we had that, Brady and all those other guys. I can't recall what the number was. It was a Vegas card, I think. But no, it wasn't Vegas. It was the card over in Abu Dhabi. But I do like the card. I mean, obviously we have some repeat fights, and I think there might be a more competitive main event. But yeah, good card.
Yeah. No, definitely a good card, and one I think we're going to have some fun digging our way through. But before we do that, just want to say that if you do want to subscribe to RotoWire, everything going on now from basketball to NFL is underway and revving up. So you want to subscribe to all that, all of our DFS stuff, picks and prop lines for sites like Prize Picks and Underdog and Pick 6. 15% off any subscription. Promo code YouTube15 at checkout. That's YouTube15 at checkout. And now we are going to go ahead and move on to the card now. And the first fight is Marion Santos at 9,100 taking on Muhammadjan Naimov at 7,100. Line on this fight, Santos at minus 235, Naimov plus 200. And this is probably going to be a slow-moving fight, particularly since I don't think Naimov is going to be able to get his wrestling working that well against Santos. Santos has a nice base with that Muay Thai background. He's good at keeping distance. I think he's going to just kind of be able to pick Naimov apart. Naimov, a guy who can get backed up as well. So I'm not sure exactly how well his skill set's going to play. He is a kind of a nice meat and potatoes little wrestle boxer when he can get his game working, but I'm just not so sure how well it's going to be working here. So I'm going to pick Santos as like a moderate lean, but I don't see this this fight going much of anywhere on DFS as a result. So that's going to be my short and sweet pick for the curtain jerker, but we're going to move on to somebody who may have an opposing view, and that is Drake. Drake, how do you see this fight?
You're on mute, bro.
Muted.
It's way opposing. I think Naimov crushes him. After watching Santos fight in his 3 fights, I see nothing that this guy can do. He fights way too slow. He's so hesitant. He got taken down 3 times by Francis Marshall, and Naimov's wrestling is 10 times better than his. I think this is going to be a smother fest.
Oh, there you go. Will be definitely interesting. You know, he has been taken out before, but I do think he kind of has a strong base. Now, I also think Naimov can kind of have to wait to get his game going, but we'll see how that works out. Joe, what about you? How you see this fight?
Is it possible, Drake, that you might have selected Naimov as one of your best plays on the card? Not your absolute best play, but maybe one of your best picks, and that you're going against the fighting nerds here?
He is one of my bets of the week.
And you're fading the fighting nerds, which is very unusual because he is training now with the fighting nerds. Did you know that?
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
I don't.
Not only fading a fighting nerd, but making the fighting nerd's opponent one of his strongest plays on the card. Okay. Honestly, I don't have a strong take on this fight. I don't think it's a great fight for DFS. Even if the favorite wins, he's not going to score very well. I mean, honestly, in a loss, you could probably get almost as many points from Naimov. I don't believe I don't have the scores up in front of me, but he is not. The favorite has not been a prolific scorer in DFS, and he's really expensive. Did you? I know I always tease you, but did you give the salaries?
I did, sir. 9,100 for Santos.
Yeah. So honestly, I mean, to me, for DraftKings purposes, I would look at this as dog or pass, just because the wrestling is going to score points. Even if the favorite wins, I don't see him getting a finish. I see him winning by decision. I mean, maybe he can keep him at range, fight off a few takedowns. I just don't think it's going to be a high-scoring fight, and I honestly don't see a reason with 14 fights to have to play this one too much in DraftKings.
Yeah, I'm definitely more in Joe's camp. Should mention, fight is going to be a catchweight now, as Santos did miss weight, so 20% of his purse is going Naimov's way. And before we move on, I just wanted to highlight Nicholas Joseph. Thank you so much for the kind words, my friend. Hope you're doing well wherever you're watching from, and good luck on the card, certainly. But now we're going to move on to the next bout, which is Mansour Abdul Malik at 9,800, taking on Antonio Tricoli at 6,400. Line on this fight is. Oh, there we go.
Chris, while you're looking at that, I have a question about this fight.
Yes, sir.
How did Abdul Malik get tossed a curveball right down the middle of the plate? What even is this matchmaking?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Tricoli is even doing here still, quite frankly.
Blows my mind if that doesn't give away how I'm feeling about it.
The line is going to give it away too, which is minus 1,400 for Abdul Malik, plus 800 for Antonio Tricoli, and this is probably just going to be a run over. I mean, I think the strikes landed for Tricoli. What line was like 10.5. Tricoli, you could see how he would make waves on the regional scene. He's very big and strong. He pressures a lot. Aside from that, I don't really see his appeal. Abdul Malik is a wrestler who's going to try to come right at him and probably ground him. And we'll see how that plays out. We saw, obviously, Trescian Gore got him in the quick submission, and he's very upright posture, very susceptible to strikes. There could be a little bit more striking initially in this one, as they're both grapplers, but there's no real pick to make here aside from Abdul Malik. Tricoli has just shown beyond nothing in the cage, aside from a right hand, and there's nothing to pay. I mean, I don't know if I'm picking Abdul Malik either. 9,800 is a pretty big meatball, and we got 14 fights, but this is just a fight that, pretty frankly, doesn't need to be on the card. But the pick does have to be Abdul Malik. But we'll go to Joe first this time. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, so I have this in one of my cycle parlays. So Malik to win by KO is minus 300. For the fight to end by KO, regardless, is minus 340. So I put this in my cycle parlay as fight to end by KO in case Tricoli gets lucky and hits him with something. It's not unheard of. It's happened in some of these wide fights. So this is like in my cycle parlay. Cycle parlays, for those that don't know, is you pick a fighter to win by KO, you pick a fighter to win by submission, you pick a fighter to win by decision. So in one of the cycle parlays that I'm playing, I have this fight ends by KO. I obviously could have gotten 40 points more juice by just playing Malik to win by KO, but like for 0.4 doesn't really affect the aggregate payout of the parlay that much. And if Tricoli gets lucky and something happens. But to your point, Chris, at 9.8K, I don't really love this, again, as a DraftKings fight. I mean, yeah, he could go out and maybe spark him in the first minute, get the 25-point bonus, the 90, the 10 for the knockdown, and come up with 125, which is good. But if this fight goes beyond the first round, I don't see how he's going to, earn his keep in terms of DraftKings points. So I would say a pick is Malik, but I don't love it as a DraftKings fight. And if you're going to bet it, and the most likely outcome is to bet it by KO, lay the 340, and this way you've got a little bit of insurance in case something strange happens. That's how to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see how Tricoli is. Like, I think Abdul Malik should win. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know that it's going to be a Gore situation again where he just walks into a submission, and so I don't know exactly what kind of fight you're going to get, and so that's why I would be a little bit more hesitant there. But I'm wondering what Drake has to say, expanding on those thoughts from earlier. So Drake, how you see it?
I think this is a waste of a fight. We should have only had 13 fights on this card. This was just good for absolutely zero reason. It's going to be Tricoli's walking papers if he loses. I don't like it for DFS at all. But I would say if I was going to place like a $10 bet, that $10 bet would be on Tricoli by submission because it's plus 1,600. Yeah. And that's really the only thing that I would personally play on this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Just play, we have an unproven fighter against, but basically two fighters that we don't really know anything about. So why not throw the Hail Mary somewhere and throw it where your money is going to make the most bang, which is the only thing that really makes sense, as you say. So sort of a nothing fight, certainly a nothing from a DraftKings perspective. The pick has to be Abdul Malik, but other than that, go a little nuts. But we will move on down the card now, and the next fight is Iwo Braninuski at 8,800 taking on Ibo Aslan at 7,400. Line on this fight, it is Braninuski at minus 185, Ibo Aslan plus 160. Braninuski made waves at the Contender Series, the one-punch knockout within the first 30 seconds, I believe. Actually, a judo specialist, is a judoka. More KOs than submissions in his UFC career, 4-2, I believe. And Ibo Aslan is just a guy I've never been high on. I think that he was KO or bust. And then after that loss to Ian Cutelaba, he came out looking very hesitant against Billy Ekalena. And being stuck in between like that as a fighter, where you try to be too safe and technical, or you try to be, that Mr. Headhunter going for the first round knockout, it's just not a good place to be. You have to be one way or the other. So I'm pretty heavy on Iwo here. I think he can take him down. I think he can sort of mess him around on the feet if he wants to, and just not a big fan of Iwo's game. And I think he is somebody out of ideas if he can't go storm the barn for the first round knockout either. So Iwo is the play, and I like him quite a bit at the under 9K here. But we'll see what the boys think. Drake has his fight.
I will probably never take Aslan again after he lost to Alicana. I would love to punch him in his face. That was just a horrid fight. He should have absolutely dominated. He didn't, and it was pathetic. That said, Baranowski, I am actually really excited for. So I don't know how many people actually really have delved into him, but he's got 6 professional fights, but it's not his professional fights that intrigued me. It was the amount of amateur fights that he has, which he had 20 of them. Yeah. And I think he won 16 or 17 of them. I'm not really sure why he stayed amateur for so long. I don't know if it was just a lack of connection or what, but this guy's got a lot of experience. He's still relatively young, I believe. He's only 27. He's got a lot going for him. I'm really looking forward to seeing him fight.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. With you don't see a lot of those big amateur backgrounds in MMA like you would in boxing, but it is interesting to see what guys do and if it does help their development. So it'll be interesting to see there. Joe, what about you? How you see this fight?
Yeah, so all you have to do is look at Aslan's 4 fights in the UFC, right? He starts out by scoring 85 points and then 126 points with probably 2 of the easiest opponents in the entire UFC, right? We all know what Cerqueira did. So he knocks out both these guys. The first one, it took him to round 3. And he was a favorite in both these fights. A marginal favorite, but at least on DraftKings. Gets 2 KOs. Then he goes up, and he's even a bigger favorite at 8.5K against Cutelaba, right? Loses in the first round by sub and puts up 6 points, right? Then, even worse, to Drake's point, now he's an 8.9K favorite against Alicana, right? The fight goes 3 rounds. He loses a decision, right? Puts up 28 significant strikes and 29 strikes in 3 rounds for 11.4 DraftKings points. That is embarrassing. Give me the guy who was fighting for vodka as an amateur. I'll take him every day. This is not a dog I would even give any consideration to. Give me the debuting Polish fighter. Enough said. I think there's some value there. I think he could actually crush. I mean, we saw he's susceptible to sub. We saw he's susceptible, to inactivity. I mean, I think there's a number of ways the Polish fighter can win this, but I really don't like any of Ibo at all. And I think this is his last fight in the UFC.
Yeah, I agree. Don't see much value in him, especially as you say, Joe. If he's not going for that first round finish anymore, what is he doing? Because he's not scoring if he's not getting those finishes, and I don't think his skill set is deep enough to have a prolonged 15-minute fight. And that Billy Ekalena match shows that probably is the case. So I do think Iwo is the rightful pick there. But we're going to move on now to the next fight, which is it is Jalen Turner at 9,300 taking on Edson Barbosa at 6,900. Line on this fight is Turner at minus 415, Barbosa at plus 315. And as much as it makes me sad to see the once great Edson Barbosa this big of a dog in a fight like this, he looked really bad in his last fight against Ricard Close. Really, the first time I think that we've seen him unable to pull the trigger, which is something that we never said about him before. Well, you can always say that this is one of the ways to spot a spent fighter, which is he just stops throwing and can't pull the trigger anymore. And Barbosa, I think it really does encapsulate it when he's not even throwing the leg kicks anymore. But that said, Jalen Turner, it's hard to know what we're going to get from him either, because this is a guy who said he had fallen out of love with the sport. He didn't want to do it anymore and was basically retired. He finds it again. He comes on back and he wants to put on a show again. And that's great to hear. He's going to have some advantages here, including, I believe, a 4 or 5 inch height advantage. Barboza has always been difficult to put away, even as he slowed down. He's always been willing to fight his way back into fights. We saw that against Sadiq Youssef and other guys. So to that point, I don't think you can pick Barboza, but can you pick Jalen Turner at this price point? Not for me. I don't know what we're going to see from Jalen Turner. I don't know what we're going to see from Barboza either, but I'm not really worried about picking him, although I do think the leg kicks can get some purchase here. But this is just a fight that's too weird. The salaries are too disparate, and I don't really want any involvement. I'm going to pick Turner just because of how shot Edson looked against Drakkar Klose. But I really don't want any part of this fight in DraftKings. But we'll see what the boys think. And we'll start with Drake. Drake, how you see it?
This is one of the fights in the card, one of the few fights in the card that I just absolutely hate.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what to expect anymore from either one of them. We've seen Jalen Turner be so dominant, and then we've seen him be an absolute dumbass in the ring. And I just, I think back to that Moicano fight when he had him, and then he decided to celebrate too early, and then he eventually got finished in the second round. And that's horrible fight IQ. I'd like to think that it's gotten better, but it's really hard to tell. If Barboza goes back to his kicks and he throws enough of them, he's absolutely got a chance in this fight. But not to bury the lead too much, I do have part of this fight in a parlay for later, and that'll be over 1.5.
Yeah, no, it's true that it's really hard to know what to expect. And it's funny, to that point, to the Moicano fight, he still talks about that as something that keeps him up at night, and why did he do it? So I mean, if you're in there having flashbacks, I mean, it's not a great place to be. But we'll go to Joe. Joe, how you see this fight?
First of all, I'd like to thank both of you guys for not burying the narrative here. You know that one of my nicknames, above and beyond the Chick Whisperer, is the King of Narrative. And you guys did not mention that Jalen Turner found God. I mean,
I knew you were going to bring it up.
Thank you for not mentioning that. He found God. There's videos on his gram of getting, baptized, and he totally found God. Now, I have a differing opinion. I think he found out it's far less lucrative to ask customers if they'd like to supersize their order than it is fighting in the UFC, or would you like fries with that, than it is, making a decent paycheck in the UFC, which is why he's coming back. Now, with all that said, I do actually like Turner a bit here. I like him to win. I like him to win by submission. I will tell you that I believe I have him by submission in one of my cycle parlays. I can't recall right now, but I do. I mean, he tends to start fast. I don't know if this newfound preference for religious pursuits is going to affect the way that he fights. I think that Drake's over 1.5 could potentially be in jeopardy here. Although we do know that Barboza can take a beating and keep on ticking, which I guess would lead to that 1.5. But I would not be surprised if the tarantula goes out like a bat out of hell and just, puts him away quickly. I love Barboza. I saw him fight in Atlantic City on a card. I think it was against Kevin Lee. It was a really, he's just a great fighter. He used to train in New Jersey, just like a professional. His leg kicks, his kicks in general were just brutal. And to Drake's point as well, I don't know if he just physically can't like do that anymore, or what the actual issue is, but he would need to go back to that game and kind of like take some of the steam out of Turner, because Turner could gas if the fight goes long. But again, circling back, I do like Turner a bit here. I do like him by finish, unfortunately. And by the way, Barboza was actually a favorite in that fight with Drakkar Klose, and he really did look bad. I mean, above and beyond the loss, he just looked slow. He looked lost. He didn't know what he wanted to do. He could have had a middle-aged resurgence for all I know. But again, assuming that he's got his head in the game, I got to like Turner here. I got to like him by finish. I do like him on DraftKings. I think he makes it compelling. I think Barbosa is going to be a popular dog based on his name alone, and he'll get some ownership for that reason, which might keep the ownership on Turner down. And Turner was what, Chris, 9-1?
9-3, I believe.
Oh, 9-3.
9-3. Yep, 9-3.
Okay. Kind of expensive, but I think if he gets it done inside the first 2 rounds, get some takedowns, get some control time, maybe, and gets the finish, I think he could make that salary work. So give me Turner here.
I will say that Joey is not able to watch live, which is probably why he hasn't commented yet.
Oh, no Joey.
But he also has Turner by sub.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, there you go. Don't listen to me. Listen to my namesake.
Well, the only thing I'll say about RE finding God is it didn't work out too well for Rory McDonald. That's all I'll say about that. But we'll move on down the card off of that, which is next fight coming up. Marvin Vettori, 8,200, taking on Bruno Ferreira at 8,000. Line on this fight is Marvin Vettori minus 120, Bruno Ferreira plus 100. We were talking about guys who just haven't looked good in recent fights, and that's Marvin Vettori. As tough as ever, as game as ever, but just doesn't really have that, come forward style anymore. Really just hangs back and waits for his opponents to lead the firefights, which he can still hang in. Again, he's still tough, but I'm just not seeing that go and take the fight away from you kind of spirit that we did early in his career. And Bruno Ferreira hits really hard. I mean, if anybody can crack that legendary Vettori chin, it would be Ferreira. Now, to that point, Ferreira is basically, save for a couple of instances in one of these fights he lost, he's basically a one-round fighter. So if Vettori can hang around, there is definitely an avenue here. Vettori is still a decent wrestler. He's a decent boxer, and he's got power of his own. But I just think he's going to give way too much real estate to a guy like Ferreira and let him control the fight and let him work his own wrestling and let him dictate. And we could even get a finish here just because Vettori seems so lost in whatever his game used to be. Just seems like a different fighter in there. So my pick has to be Ferreira here, and wouldn't be surprised if he's the first one to get it done inside the distance against the Italian Dream there. But we'll go to Joe first. Joe, his fight.
So Vettori obviously has the backlash here. I mean, he's fought Izzy twice. He's headlined. He's been in 5-round fights. I don't think he's that old. I don't think he's 35 yet, is he? I don't have his age in front of me, but I don't think he's that old, at least in people years. I
he's
think
32.
you called it on Ferreira. I mean, you probably like Ferreira early and Vettori late. That's probably the way to look at this. And it sounds odd, but maybe you go, you could do one of those prop bets where you take Ferreira by knockout or just Ferreira by finish and, Vettori by decision. You play them both and you split the middle line, whatever that is. I could look it up while Drake goes. But I guess I have to make a pick here. I mean, it's such a tightly lined fight. I don't know that I mean, if you're going to play it for DraftKings, you're probably playing Ferreira because he's got the more finish equity. And if Vettori wins a 3-round fight and doesn't get his wrestling going, I don't think he's going to score a lot. So I would say play Ferreira on DraftKings. I'll pick Ferreira. I'll go against the backlash here and pick Ferreira. And maybe I could see Vettori like going to PFL or something and trying to reinvent himself there because, I don't know what would be next for him at the UFC. I mean, I don't know that you could even call him a gatekeeper in the division. So maybe PFL, but I'll reluctantly take Ferreira here in what, again, is a pretty binary fight if you look at it the way that it should play out. Ferreira early, Vettori late. So do that bet. Not all the books have it, unfortunately, but you could play, Ferreira by knockout, Vettori by decision.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, it looks like we're seeing a guy on the back half of it. It looks like we're seeing the Leon Edwards, this version, the middleweight version of it, where he just is competitive, and then not competitive anymore. And I do think that starts here, so I think the pick does have to be fair. But we'll see what Drake thinks. Drake, how you see this fight?
So, just because neither of you noted it, Ferreira did miss weight. He came in at 189. He didn't look bad on the scales. I think he kind of just gave up on his cut, which is better than him trying to drain himself on his cut. To me, that says his head is still there completely. And in that case, I kind of have a bit of a wild take, and I don't think that Ferreira wins by knockout. I think he submits Vettori.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, interesting. Definitely interesting.
And the only reason that I say that is I expect Vettori to try to get his wrestling going like right away. And I just think it's one of those things where he's going to get himself caught due to the pure strength of Ferreira, and he's just going to get choked.
Yeah, no, definitely interesting. Good call on the weight miss for sure. And it is, and I can see that too. One of those things where he does wrestle, but it could be one of those things where he tries to do something a little too frequently that he doesn't normally do, and he presses it, and then he gets himself caught. Could definitely see that happening. So yeah, I do see Ferreira winning as well. Whichever way you like it, obviously sub I believe would yield a lot more money, but I think Ferreira does need to be the pick.
Yeah. So real quick, Chris, because since I promised people I'd give them the numbers.
Oh right.
Vettori to win by decision and Ferrara to win by KO is minus 275. There's not a lot of meat there. However, Vettori to win by decision or Ferrara to win by submission is minus 115, which is a little better odds wise. So you could take either one of those, and you've got both sides of the fight. Now obviously you're going to get screwed if Ferreira wins by decision, or if Vettori wins by some form of finish, which Vettori is not a finisher, right? So I find less risk of that. I do think there's some possibility that Vettori is tough and he stays in there, and Ferrara wins by decision, which is why I would probably, if you like Ferrara, just bet this on the money line. Take Ferrara by the money line and go that way. He's still a slight dog. That might change by fight time. So there you go.
Yeah, no, I think if you're Vettori, if you're a Vettori backer, that's what you're looking for. He's going to get tough. He's going to stay in there, and Ferreira's going to gas out. Otherwise, I see it as Ferreira's fight all the way. But we're going to move on down the card now, and the next fight is Faris Siam at 8,300 taking on Nazim Sadikov at 7,900. Line on this fight is Siam minus 170, Sadikov plus 145, and I've always been a big fan of Nazim Sadikov. I really think he's kind of the total package for the weight class. He can wrestle a little bit. He's a really crisp boxer. He's really got good movement. He's very hard to hit. He can slip. He can counter. Siam, I don't want to say he's a size bully, but I do think size has been a big part of his little resurgence here and the use of his wrestling. I just think Siam is going to be too agile, too mobile, and I think he's going to be able to move and skirt around in the pocket. And I think Siam is going to be able to collapse that distance. He's going to be able to pressure, and he's going to be able to land his shots. So I'm actually a pretty big believer in Siam here, and I will Sadikov rather, and I will take him at the slight dog money for sure. But we will see what the boys think, and we'll start with Joe this time. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting fight. Ziam is on a 5-fight winning streak. Now, like, you can argue that his first 3 fights were not against the greatest competition, but then, as a slight underdog to Frivola, he starches him in the 3rd round and puts him 113 points, then comes back as a dog again and beats Davis in a pretty dominant, well, maybe not super dominant, but it was a decision win where he had 7 minutes of control time. So he seems to be like gelling at the perfect time and doing everything right. With that said, I do think, Sadikov is live. He's 11-1. You're getting him at 7.1K. In his 5 UFC fights, he's got 4 wins and a draw. And he's won by every imaginable way possible. I mean, he sub McKinney, he TKO'd Elder, he TKO'd Bonfim, and as a 9.4K favorite, he KO'd Moda. That seemed to be even an easier fight than Bonfim. I'm not sure why that matchmaking was done, but he put up 121.7 points. So I'm actually looking forward to this fight. I see it as like very evenly matched. And on DraftKings, you maybe want both sides of this because, you know, I think the fighter that wins could put up a decent score, unless, of course, the worst case happens and they just neutralize each other and it's a really boring decision. But I really do feel that you're going to get a good score on this fight. My initial lean was towards Ziam, but I'm kind of now more over on the Sadikov side, even though I do feel that, you know, Ziam is really peaking right now. But I think this is just a good fight to have exposure to on DraftKings. You've got two fighters that are kind of peaking. One has got a 5-fight win streak. One is coming off of 2 fights, but he didn't lose. He actually had a draw against Borichev, and he subbed McKinney, and he does seem to win by finish. So, you know, all 4 of his wins were by finish in the UFC. So I'm going to go with the dog here. I'm going to look for some salary savings because at the top, if you're looking to get kind of Merab and Pantoja and maybe Turner in the lineup, you're going to need some sub 8K guys. And here's one that I think is really live.
Yeah, I just don't want people to get too excited. It's 7.9K, not 7.1K for
7.9 exactly.
Yeah, for the dog in the spot. What about you, Drake? How you see it?
I'm also all over Sadikov. And the big reason why is, so like Joe said, Ziam has kind of gotten his game going, like, you know, relatively well. He's got his wrestling working. But if you go back and watch the Claudio Puelles fight, Claudio Puelles took him down 7 times. And I would argue that Nazim may not be the better grappler of between him and Puelles, but he's definitely the smarter grappler. Not only that, but Nazim will work when he's on the mat. He won't just sit there and do what Puelles did. So I really like Nazim to get this down, especially because he's facing a 6-inch reach disadvantage. So he's definitely got, I mean, striking isn't going to be the easiest thing in the world for him in this fight. So it's all going to, I fully expect him to get this to the mat. And I would not be surprised at all to see him submit Ziam.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout. We definitely, he's going to have to overcome that reach advantage somehow. And we know that he will grapple. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out there. But I do think that Sadikov does have to be the play, or not does have to be, I shouldn't say that, but I'll say is the preferred play, especially with the modicum of savings that you get. Moving on now, it is Macy Barber at 8,700 taking on Karine Silva at 7,500. Line on this fight is minus 200 Macy Barber, plus 170 for Karine Silva. And I think if Karine Silva's recent fights have taught us anything, it's that if she can't soundly out-wrestle you, she's going to have a hard time beating you. And Macy Barber has always been strong for the division. If she gets out-wrestled, it isn't easily. And she keeps a good frame for striking. And I think she's just going to be able to kind of pick Karine Silva apart here. I don't think Silva's going to be able to out-wrestle her. As I said, not too many women have been able to do that. Barber, very strong for the weight class. A very good, tricky grappler in her own right. And Silva, I think her game has been shown to be a little shallow here from the prospect that I think we thought we may have been getting. So I'm going to pump the brakes on Silva a little bit here. I'm going to go Macy Barber. I don't know how well this one scores. I think this can be a lot of wall and stall as one jockeys for takedowns here. I laughed a little bit because Joe just pointed to himself, and I saw in our private chat he did remind me to go first to him for this one here. So let's hear it, Joe. I wonder how long it's going to be until we actually get to fight stuff. But let's hear about Karine Silva, Macy Barber, Joe.
So Macy Barber is dead to me, obviously, because of what she did in her last fight, the fight that never happened with Blanchfield. Macy Barber has fought once a year, 2023, 2024, 2025, one fight a year, right? The non-fight with Erin Blanchfield. Macy Barber has turned her back on God. She's now into mystical crystals. Also, what a lot of people don't realize is that above and beyond any potential problems that she's having, and I don't make light of anybody who has issues with anxiety, the new boyfriend, Macy Barber has gotten enhanced. And that is the colloquial vernacular for a boob job. Fighters in the UFC who have had boob jobs are 0-16 in their first fight post boob job.
How did I know you'd have statistics on that, Joe?
I actually don't know if that's the actual number. I'm kind of making it up, but like to me, it's a balance issue. So 0-16 first fight after breast enhancements. Look, if Macy Barber, the killer, you know, the one who outmuscles you, the one who bullies you, if that Macy Barber shows up, I definitely see a path to victory here. But like, I mean, I don't even know if she's going to make it to the octagon. Like, you know, it really kind of like that whole thing with Erin Blanchfield really just soured me on her. And, you know, where is her head at? Like, you know, again, going back to, this is where I can do my chick whisperer and king of narrative merging together here. For that reason alone, this is dog or pass for me. Now, I'm happy to make this like one of the biggest pork chops I've ever, you know, not eaten. And Macy Barber will come out and dominate Silva, and that's fine. But like, you know, that you need the good Macy Barber here. Like, not the Macy Barber who is like, you know, rubbing crystals all over her body and, you know, has got a balance issue because of her enhancements. Like, you need the good Macy Barber here. I don't know that you're going to get the good Macy Barber. So for that reason, I'm going to pick the underdog.
All right, we got sinners in the hands of an angry Joe here for this version of Fight IQ, all about religiosity and who is and who is not, aside from some other things. But no, you know, I do think the where her head at part is one that we do have to take a little seriously, and we'll see how it plays out. But we'll go to Drake now. Drake, how's his fight?
I am more or less in Joe's boat, but not for the reasons that he said.
Right.
I'm so permission to read from my article, sir.
Please.
So for this fight, me personally, I said Silva is the preferred DFS play. Barber has the physicality to win minutes, but the uncertainty surrounding her condition makes her tough to trust. If she were 100%, this matchup would feel much closer. Silva's finishing upside, especially via submission, gives her a clear ceiling edge. Barber remains a viable GPP pivot due to pace and strength, but Silva's danger in every scramble makes her the sharper DFS target. Now, I agree with both of you on where your head is at for this fight, because Barber, when she's 100% healthy, is one of the best in the division. There's no doubt about it. But for me, after she pulled from 2 consecutive fights, I don't know where she's at. I don't know where her – I don't know if she's 100%. I don't know where she's at with anything. So I can't trust her, and I would much rather go with Silva, who is still learning to – I guess be more aggressive in the ring again. That fight with Barbosa, she definitely did struggle, but she also was going against an elite grappler. I don't think she has to worry about that as much with Barber, because Barber is more of a wrestler than a grappler. So I am going to stick with Silva. She is a fighting nerd, so I am going with at least one of them on this card. But yeah, Barber is a very huge question mark to me.
Hey, Drake, before we move on to the next fight, can you please tell our viewers where they can find your article?
Yeah, RotoWire, Drake's Takes.
There you go.
Drake's Takes.
DFS MMA stuff.
Absolutely, yep. RotoWire.com, DFS for all your MMA articles. That is mine and Drake's. Also, all of our picks for the week you'll find up there as well, including the weight class, our fighter rankings, which I had just redone over the break there. So all new fighter rankings by yours truly. So pop in there, tell me why they're wrong. Some are very different from the ones you see in UFC. I cleared out all the dead wood. Henry Cejudo is not in my fighter ranking. Colby Covington is not in my fighter ranking, etc. So pop in there, check it out, and let us know.
We could also talk about, since this is the last pay-per-view card and we're just about to the main card, it's between two people, me and John Litterine, for who wins the RotoWire picks this year, and he'd have to beat me by 3 picks for me to lose. So I'm feeling pretty good.
There you go. And yours truly has been the field has lapped him at this point. But next year, every year is a new year, and that is the credo I'm going with. But definitely pop in and give Drake some love on that front.
So, hey, Chris, we haven't really discussed it yet, and we probably should have had this discussion among ourselves and not live on the air. But given that we only get together and do this podcast for pay-per-views, and pay-per-views are going away, I assume we're just going to transition over to the numbered cards, right? And do the pay-per-views for the numbered cards.
We're going to do numbers, which means we're going to be on 2 weeks in a row in the new year, which is interesting.
That's fine. Well, I mean, we get essentially a 7-week hiatus because we're not coming on next week, and then we got 6. So yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, and you know what? We can talk to see if we want to put up some kind of content here as sort of a holdover in between, because that is quite a long time. But we'll work that out and see how everything shakes out there. But for right now, we will move on to the next fight, which is Chris Duncan, 8,600, Terrence McKinney, 7,600. And my thoughts on Terrence McKinney are just it's still a fight. One of those fighters who, you know, he's been in the organization forever, and we still know nothing about him, just because of the way he fights. And he either gets it done early or loses early, or he spends all his energy in the first round and gets finished in the second. In fact, has never had a victory outside of the first round. Back-to-back second-round to Sadikov and Devon Fiem. And we know how tough Chris Duncan is. We saw him take all those shots against Matus Rebecki. We know that he uses his frame well. We know that he can cut angles and find his shots. We know that he's a tricky submission grappler off the ground. So Terrence McKinney's not going to just be able to bum rush him with his wrestling as he did Slava Borshov. McKinney's going to be faster. That's going to always be one of the tools he has in his back pocket early. He's going to have the speed. But when that goes away, what is he going to have? I think Chris Duncan is going to be there to weather the storm. I think he's going to fight smarter. I think he's going to be the better grappler overall. And I think that's going to be enough to get this done. So my pick has to be Duncan. But we'll go to, I believe, Drake first. Drake, how you see it?
Yeah, I really like Duncan in this fight. But this is one of those fights where you need to play both ways, just because this is not going to go to a decision. It probably won't even go into the second round. This will likely be done within the first 3 minutes of the fight. And Chris referenced Duncan's toughness. I think that's the difference. I don't think McKinney has the chin for the UFC. I think he would be much better off elsewhere. But that's obviously not up to us. So I am on Duncan. I think he gets this done, and I think he gets it done early, and is for me a must play. I'd be much heavier on him in DFS.
Yeah, I mean, it's strange to think that McKinney, this guy has been around for so long, and there's just not a whole lot you can say about him. But he is what he is. He's round one or bust. Excuse me, and I think it's going to be bust in this case. Joe, what about you? How you see this fight?
Yeah, so I have this fight in one of my cycle parlays as the submission leg, playing this ending by submission, this fight. I'm going to go on the Duncan side. I'm sorry. I'm going to go on the McKinney side. Sorry. I'll be the odd man out here. I'm going to take McKinney. I think there's some line value. McKinney is, refresh my memory, Chris, 7.7?
Was 7.6.
7.6K, and he's plus 105. So there's some line value there, plus 105. Drake made an excellent point. Like, this is a fight you want a lot of. I mean, I hate predicting ownership. It's something I've never been good at, but like, I would think you want 70 to 80% of this fight if you're playing mass entry. Like, if you're going to put 150 lineups in like either the 50 cent or the 3, like, you want like a high percentage of this fight because of the fact that it's likely going to end early. McKinney has never seen a decision in his entire career. I mean, I don't think he saw a decision when he was a juvenile, doing jiu-jitsu tournaments. Like, I don't think he's ever been in a fight that actually finished. So win or lose. So yeah, you want both sides of this fight. I'm going to take McKinney purely for the line value. 7.6K at plus 105 is kind of hard to pass up, but I don't think it really matters if you're going to mass entry. If you're playing one lineup, maybe my thought would change. But like playing a lot of lineups, I want like 70 to 80% of this fight.
Yeah, no, definitely a fight that you need both sides of. No question about that. I do think the toughness is the thing that carries the day. And McKinney is just going to be the one who's either going to rain on your parade or make it rain for you, depending on if he gets this done storming the barn. So just going to be that kind of fight. You have to roll with it. But for me, the pick is Duncan. But we're going to move on up the card further now, and it is Grant Dawson at 8,900, taking on Miguel Torres at 7,300. Line on this fight. Minus 250 Grant Dawson, plus 210 Manuel Torres, and every Grant Dawson fight for me is the same. We have a decision to make. Is Grant Dawson going to blanket his opponent and really just go to a more often than not 3-round decision win, or is his opponent going to keep him on the feet long enough to knock him out? And I'm going with the latter here. I think Manuel Torres is going to mercifully, for us, knock out Grant Dawson so we don't have to watch 3 rounds of blanket wrestling. Torres has an 88% takedown defense rate. Granted, he's never faced a wrestler quite like Dawson, but he's good at managing distance. He's good at throwing those straight shots down the middle, which is what Bobby King Green got him with. He's been, as I said, the 88% takedown defense rate. He's got a good frame for the division. I like him to be able to scramble up to his feet if he does get taken down at least a few times. And I think that Dawson isn't going to have anything for him if he can't bring the fight to the ground. So ultimately, I like Torres to keep the feet. If he can't, then we're going to be in for what you would expect, which is 3 rounds of Grant Dawson, just holding him in place, probably pity-pattering his way to a big score. So you do need to have shares of Dawson for that reason. But I think Torres is going to get this done and knock him out. I think we're all going to be grateful for it, and not just the DFS players on Torres. So my pick is Manuel Torres for the big win. But we're going to start with Joe here. Joe, how you see it?
Yeah, again, this is another fight I want a lot of. And despite Chris's narrative regarding the lack of excitement associated with blanket wrestling, as we can attest to with Merab, it scores quite well. Sure. If you look at the numbers that Dawson has put up recently, it's outstanding. With that said, all 5 of Torres's fights have ended in the first round. 4 wins, 3 by KO, 1 by sub, and then a loss in a really kind of odd fight to Bahamundes by KO. And he's been favored in all of his fights, although not by a lot. 8.3K, 8.9K, 8.3K, 8.2K, 8.2K. Again, the ghost of Drew Dober, having knocked him out, impressive. But again, it is the ghost of Drew Dober. Sub Duncan, impressive. Moda, Camacho, but he's still, he's a finisher. So you want a lot of this fight. You also can bet this fight by taking. I don't think there's any chance that Torres can submit Dawson, but if you could take Torres by knockout and Dawson by decision, if you want to play it that way, that might not be the worst way to go here. But I am going to actually say that Dawson does get his wrestling going and blankets Torres here. I really do think that that's going to happen. I like Torres. I think he's got, a future in the UFC, but I think this is going to be a real test for him. I will have shares of him in my mass entry lineups at 7.3K. One of my coworkers who's big into MMA feels the same way as Chris does, and that Torres is going to nuke Dawson. They say he's better than Bobby Green, and at least at this stage in their respective careers. And Bobby Green knocked out Dawson. How can we forget the 0-point performance that Dawson put up against Bobby Green? There has been some speculation that fight, I don't even want to say it, but that fight was a...
No, that's what I want to start with, so shut up.
Okay, I'll let you go with that. I'll stop now. I'm on Dawson.
Okay, good. I am also on Dawson, and I do want to point out that there is talks that fight was thrown. Now, if that is the case, then we're looking at a lot of other bad things to go with that. But let's hope that isn't, because Bobby Green looked like shit the rest of the time after that fight. That said, I do like Torres. I do like Chris's points. I did think about them as I was writing. However, I am a big fan of blanket style wrestling because it is a huge part of MMA, which is what this is. For all the people that don't like it, go watch boxing because I'm tired of your shit. I love Dawson in this. And to Chris's point where Torres can get up, yes, I hope he does, because he's going to get put right back down. And when Torres is tired after the first round, it's just going to get even better. So I really like Dawson in this. I love him to score 115 plus in DFS. I think for me, he's just a lock.
Yeah, no, he definitely could put up that big score. I mean, I hesitate to say a fight is unless we see something else that went along with it. Unless you can uncover some line discrepancy, then you can just say any fight you don't like is fixed, and I don't think we should get into doing that. But
no, there was just a big thing on it. I don't know if you saw it, but there was
I've heard people say it, but I haven't seen like any evidence of it. And could be partially I could be defending it because I actually picked Green to knock him out in that fight. But that's either here nor there. Maybe I was in cahoots with it. No,
it's Chris's fault.
Obviously not. But no, I definitely do see the merit for Dawson, of course. Obviously scores big in any win, and definitely now with his salary of under 9K, I mean he could put up 110, 115, clearly north of 100 very easily. So do need
to add one quick thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's another big reason that I really like Dawson in this fight. So a lot of the times, because it came up in a fight earlier today, when guys get knocked out, a lot of the times they come out and they're hesitant in that next fight. Dawson wasn't hesitant at all. I mean, he was going against guys that are obviously a little lesser, but like Hoffa Garcia and Diego Ferreira, they do have power. So I mean, Joe Solecki, I'm not going to really count because he's a nobody. But
yeah.
There was no hesitancy, and I think I don't think he's going to run forward with his head right there for Torres, and I think that's going to be the key to to his game. It's just avoiding that, and so long as he avoids that, I think he's gold.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens the first. I'll be interested to see what happens the first time they lock up. See how well Torres can put that 88% takedown defense rate to work, and what happens there. But definitely one to watch. Interesting dynamic in that one for sure. But now we're going to move on to the main card, in fact, and it is Jan Blachowicz at 8,400 taking on Bogdan Guskov at 7,800. Line on this fight, Blachowicz. I'm sorry, gonna get some. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, it's different. We have different lines everywhere. So the first one I'm seeing is actually Guskov as a favorite, -113, -107 for Jan. Next one is -117 for Blachowicz, -103 for Guskov. So as you can see, very closely lined fight here, and I'm actually surprised at the closeness of the line. The first reason is just because this is a massive step up from anyone Guskov has fought in the past. Anyone he's beaten, I should say. Lost to Uzdemir quickly, then beats Pagawa, beats Span, beats Alekana in a fight where he had some trouble in, and then beats Krylov, who you want to talk about the ghost of people. I mean, might be the second generation ghost of Krylov, the way he looked in there. So Guskov really hasn't beaten any tough competition. You want to look at Jan Blachowicz, you can say he hasn't had a win in his last 5 fights. Okay, but now let's look at those fights. He drew against Ankalaev, where he had shattered Ankalaev's calf to the point where he just sort of had to wrestle him to a draw. Then he had a split decision against Alex Pereira. Then he had the unanimous decision against Carlos Ulberg, which I believe that fight could have gone either way. I think that's kind of a dubious unanimous decision, but besides the point, Guskov is a one-round fighter. Jan Blachowicz does not let you fight one-round fights. He slows the pace down. He'll hit you with counter shots on the way in. He'll batter your leg with kicks. Guskov stands very heavy on that front leg. I think the wrestling will work wonders here. Alekana took Guzkov down, had his back, coming up a weight class on short notice. Polish power, not just in the hands, but physical strength. Blachowicz should have strength in spades, should get that wrestling working. Got it working against guys like Israel Adesanya. I don't think it's going to be a problem against Guzkov. Guzkov could come out and smoke him, which I think at least one of our panelists here think is going to happen. But if that does not happen, then I just think this is Blachowicz' fight all the way. I certainly think on paper, aside from power, he's got every attribute in his favor. But we'll see what the boys think. And I believe we're starting with Drake here. So, Drake, how you see it? You're muted, Joe. Joe, you're muted, pal.
Sorry, guys. I was asking before we start with Drake, what's the age disparity?
42 and 32, I think.
Okay, so 10 years. Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
It's light heavyweight. All right.
Yeah, I will start. This is my lock of the week, Bogdan Guzkov. Yes, I fully understand this is a massive step up. Bogdan Guzkov said it himself. He was hoping for a big name. He did not ask for a big name. The UFC gave it to him. He was very appreciative to the UFC for it. I just wanted to throw that out there. I would argue that Guzkov will be far faster in this fight. And I think the speed is going to be the biggest difference. I do not think, unless Blachowicz can put him on his back, I think he is going to get lit up. And if he does put him down, I think he puts himself in a position to get guillotined, which Guzkov is also very keen to that. I really like Bogdan Guzkov as a fighter. I think he has all the potential to be a top guy in this division. He gets more experience every time he fights. He gets better every time he fights. The Ozdemir fight, I think if they were to redo it, I think he'd win that fight. If this was Blachowicz 4 years ago, I would probably go the other way. He's 42. He's about to be 43 in February. Your chin goes no matter what. You don't have control of that. I think he gets knocked out.
Yeah, we were talking about this. And I take those points. It's just that it would be much easier for me if we had seen evidence of that slowdown, and I just don't think I've seen it. Again, he hasn't won any of the last 5 fights, but he's really competitive in all those fights. And we're not talking about bums either. We're talking about heavy punchers. We're talking about fast punchers. So
yeah, but we're also talking about, like you and I had talked about it. You talked about Blachowicz slowing fights down, and you can argue that at the last 10 fights, Glover Teixeira did the same thing, and eventually it caught up to him, and he could not keep up with the speed anymore, and he got murdered. And the same thing is going to happen to Blachowicz. There's only so much slowing down that you can do before you get caught, and I'm telling you, it's going to happen here.
Yeah, I would need to see a little bit more evidence of it prior to this to pick it here. But if it happens here, then it's a pretty safe bet. It's going to happen all the way down. I just need to see it first, but we'll see what Joe thinks. Joe, I see it.
So I actually, I have a special relationship with Yan here, and not just because we share a nationality. Going back to 3/6/2021 as a 7K underdog to Israel Adesanya, who thought he could come up and be a 2-division champ. He scored 116 points in a 5-round win. Made me a lot of money that day with my Izzy fade. So I have a lot of love for Yan. With that said, in his subsequent 5 fights post Izzy, Teixeira, Rakic, Ankalaev, Pereira, and Olberg, definitely murderer's row here. He's only scored 3 total takedowns. So there's no guarantee he's actually going to be able to get him to the ground, Guzkov to the ground. 42 years old, 10-year age difference. Look, the back class, I get it. There is a stat, and I don't have it in front of me, about fighters, percentage won loss where there's a 10-year age gap. Almost 11. To Drake's point, if this was 4 years ago, I'd be all over Yan. That's like Yan, beating Izzy, and he's a massive favorite in this fight. and instead of where he's at right now. I honestly think he's, there's not great line value in Yan either. Now, for that reason, he might go under-owned, and people might want to take a shot with him. But he also hasn't scored very well in decisions. I mean, I think he would have put up less than 60 points if he got the decision with Olberg. So I think it's worth taking a flyer on Guskov here, in that he does potentially get a finish, and you're getting some line value. I think this line might tighten up a bit as we get closer to the fight. So yeah, I'm gonna take the stab on the underdog here. Love Yan, made me a lot of money, but give me Guskov here.
I just hesitate. I think we might be jumping the gun. Like not every aging light heavyweight turns into Shogun. Like some of these guys are just going to gracefully age out, and I think Yan is more in that category. But
who has gracefully aged out? Who? Because they've all been knocked out at the end of their career.
Yeah, but he's not there. Well, then he's not there yet. We haven't seen it happen.
I don't know.
All right. Well, it'll be one to watch for sure. And now that I've lit the fire, if I'm wrong, I'm surely going to pay for it.
Oh, 100%
on fight night. But these are the perils of having a strong fight opinion, and we live with them. But now we're going to go on to the next fight on the card, of which I don't believe there will be any hot disagreement. But let's see. It is Peyton Talbot at 9,200 taking on Henry Cejudo at 7,000. Line on this fight, minus 255. Cejudo plus 215. Those lines, I rarely say this for a prominent favorite. That line is almost a little too narrow for me. I don't see anything that Henry Cejudo is going to have for Peyton Talbot. For those who don't know, Cejudo has made it official that he's going to retire after this fight, win or lose, and he just looked really bad in that Yudong Song fight. The guy who revitalized his career by bouncing around as a striker and then moving into his wrestling, totally flat-footed in the pocket now, just eating shot after shot. Peyton Talbot is going to be so much faster. I don't even think Cejudo is going to successfully get his wrestling game going. And even if he did, we already saw leaps and bounds better takedown defense from Talbot in the Felipe Lima fight, stuffing 12 of 15. So I really think not only is Talbot going to win, I think Talbot could stop Henry Cejudo here. I just think Cejudo has nothing. This is going to be the last time out. I think Talbot's going to really solidify himself, take that leap forward, get his legend name, and move on forward through the division. Peyton Talbot in a big way here, and I actually love the salary in this spot, but we'll throw it to, I think, or where would I go to first last time?
You went with Drake because it was his pick of the week.
Okay, yeah, so go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, look, I need to see another fight from Talbot, honestly. Yeah, the size discrepancy is there. I get it. I'm not convinced that Talbot's takedown defense is improved that much from when he fought Roney, who just absolutely dominated him. Which Cejudo are you going to get here? I have not watched the weigh-ins. I don't know if he looks the same that he would normally look. He obviously made weight. I don't like that he switched camps, that he's not doing his usual camp with his usual team. I think the line is a little wide. I mean, you think it's narrow. I think it's wide. That's definitely a divergence of opinions here. I don't know. I mean, I honestly can't remember who I picked earlier in the week when Jake asked us to submit our picks. I can't remember whether I picked Talbot or Cejudo. What was that?
You went Talbot.
I had Talbot. I'll stick with that. I do think that if Cejudo goes out there and wrestles, like we know he all can, I think he can actually get the win. I think he can get a decision win. I don't think he'll finish Talbot, but I think he can wrestle F him. And that's why I think he's live as a dog. But if he's just showing up for a paycheck, then Talbot all the way. But I do want to see another fight from Talbot, before everyone kind of endorses him, because he did fall hard against Roney. So I'll take Talbot here, but I think Cejudo is potentially live as a dog, and you should take a few shots with him just in case you do see the Henry Cejudo is old, the Triple C, the guy with the takedowns. Talbot.
I would just say I don't remember the last time Henry Cejudo wrestled after anybody. We have to go back a number of years there, but I mean, he will have the wrestling advantage on paper. I just don't see it applying here, really. Again, I think that Yadong fight he looked really bad in, and I just think that's a pretext to or a prelude rather for things to come. I think he knows it, and I think that's why this is his last fight. But we'll see what Drake thinks. Drake, how you see his fight?
I'm with you. I think that Talbot should be a 4 or 5 favorite.
Yeah,
4-1 favorite in this fight. Cejudo, not only did he look like just terrible on the scales, you can tell just by watching him, watching his mannerisms, watching how he talks, he's not in this fight.
Yeah,
he's not at all. This is going to be Talbot's. He's going to get that legendary name on his in his stack of names there. It's that the 6-inch height and reach advantage that he has is just going to be huge. I don't see Cejudo doing anything. I do wonder if Talbot might ease up a bit to not knock him out. It is a concern of mine. So for me, I'm personally probably going to fade in DFS, at least for the most part, but my play would be Talbot.
So why do you think he would? Just because he wants to show more skills, or he doesn't want to?
I think he wants to use it as a, I can go 15 minutes and dominate a fight against the top name type of thing to really show off his skill set.
Okay, yeah. All right, interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and just go full bore on it, just because the speed advantage plus the height and reach. I'm with you, Drake. I don't see Cejudo doing much of anything, but maybe he turns back the clock. There's always that chance, and he does have the wrestling pedigree, of course. Excuse me. But we'll move down the main card now. It is Tatsuro Taira, 8,500, taking on Brandon Moreno at 7,700. Line on this fight. Taira minus 124, Moreno plus 104, and it almost feels like we're forgetting how good Brandon Moreno is as a fighter, putting him as a dog here, in my opinion. Although I don't think it should be that big either way. I do recognize how good of a grappler Taira is, but we saw in the fight against Brandon Royval that when he couldn't put Royval away, and when Royval was able to scramble with him, he got tired, and then Royval was able to pull ahead. And Brandon Moreno is every bit the scrambler of a Brandon Royval, at least for my money, and the much better boxer. So we put all those things together, and I think the pick has to be Moreno here. I just don't see anybody dominating Moreno on the ground. We certainly haven't seen it before. And even if he does get a round or two of a round of I keep thinking this is a 5-round fight. It's not. But he gets a round of top control, I think Moreno is going to be able to keep pace with him, scramble enough to where he's either going to get tired or going to be able to stuff enough takedowns to where Moreno's going to have his way with it on the feet. So my pick has to be Moreno here, and I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to work in his own wrestling either. He certainly tried against Pantoja at least. So I'm picking Moreno here. I think he's game for the challenge, and I think he's going to come out on top as the dog. But we will see what the boys think. Excuse me, Drake, I see his fight.
So I think one of the things that a lot of people forget, because it feels like Moreno's been around forever, is he's still only 31. He is still a phenomenal fighter. He really is. He's complete. He's great. His losses have only come to champions over the last 5 years now. The reason that I'm not going with Moreno is the advancement of Taira's game. And there's a couple of things that I can point out. Obviously, Taira's striking is not as good. But Moreno did get outstruck all 5 rounds against Steve Erceg. He had only, I think, 2.5 minutes of control time against Royval. And in the Taira-Royval fight, Taira had 12.5 minutes of grappling control against Royval. So I do think that the grappling is going to be the big difference in this fight. I understand what Moreno can do. Taira is so quick and so great at locking people in. I just don't know if 3 rounds is enough time for Moreno to get enough work in to steal the fight.
That was my only concern, that it was 3 rounds. It was 5 rounds. I think it's Moreno.
I would probably go Moreno still in a 5-round fight because
Yeah.
I think he'd win the championship rounds and then just one other. But it's a close fight. For me, this is just a pure pick 'em. It's 2 great fighters. It should be very fun to watch. It should be super entertaining. But I am going to go with Tyra.
Yeah, no question. Joe, how do you see the fight?
Give me the line value on Moreno.
Okay.
Plus 102 at 7.5K. Love it. Just a quick little betting summary here. 64% of the bets on this fight are on the underdog, Moreno. So
Yeah.
64% of the bets are on Moreno. He's currently plus 102. Tiara's minus 122. I do think that this could be like an ugly split decision type of fight that could go either fighter's way. You can argue that like some of Moreno's losses, he actually won. If you go back and look at his record, I just think that at 7.5K plus 102, you're compelled to play Moreno here. I'm not saying don't have a few shares of Tiara, but I don't know that this fight is going to score that well. But at 7.5K, if you're looking to build and get 3 fighters in at 9K or higher, I mean, you need to find someone that gives you like value for your money here, and that you got that in Moreno. So I'll take Moreno. You're on mute, Chris.
I agree. I think Moreno can do a little bit of everything, and that's why I think he's the preferred player. But to Drake's point,
I just lost all sound.
good. Oh wait,
There we go.
okay. Gafifer 2006. Good. Thank you for watching along here. Good luck in your contests. Hope you are doing well, my friend.
Good evening, brother. Thank you for chiming in.
Now we're gonna go to the co-main event, which is
The best fight on the card?
the best fight on the card for sure. The people's main event, some might say. It is Alexandre Pantoja at 9,000, taking on Joshua Van at 7,200. Line on this fight: Pantoja minus 220. Comeback on Josh Van plus 185. This was a fight that I actually think I generally don't go pick the favorite if I think the line is a little too wide, but I'm going to break my own rule in this case. I do think the line is a bit too wide on Van here. I flip-flopped on this fight a lot because I started asking myself, what does an Alexandre Pantoja win look like if Pantoja can't wrestle? Because we've seen Josh Van be really good and stubborn with his takedown defense and really good and stubborn with his get-ups, especially when he does get taken down. But what I finally decided upon was the calf kicks are going to play a big role for Pantoja in this fight. Pantoja has some of the most, I think, unsung best calf kicks in the sport, let alone the division. Joshua Van is very heavy on the lead leg as a boxer. I've never seen him check a kick, as a matter of fact. And I really think that's going to matter. I also really think Pantoja is one of the only fighters who's going to be able to put Joshua Van on the back foot, and that's going to be really important. Charles Johnson, when he knocked out Joshua Van, it's because he put him on the back foot to start the 3rd round. And the last thing I will say is that Alexandre Pantoja doesn't throw a lot of straight punches, which is usually not a great thing. But I would argue against Joshua Van, it's the thing you have to do. Joshua Van is very good at leaning out of the way of the straight punch and coming back with a counter. Throwing hooks at him works. Charles Johnson knocked him out with a hook. He's been scored on with hooks before. Pantoja just runs forward and wings hooks. You wouldn't think it would work. I think it's going to have more purchase against Joshua Van than it would against other fighters. I also think that's going to lead to takedowns working where they ordinarily wouldn't. It is going to be chaotic. It is going to be messy. I could see Van having some success. We saw Moreno have a lot of success against Pantoja just boxing him. So we can't discount that. I do think Pantoja's going to have some – I do think Van's going to have some success And if he can weather the storm, we know how good Joshua Van's gas tank is. We know how Pantoja can get tired. He fights through it, but he does get tired. So it's a very good fight. It's, again, the line is a little bit too wide, but I'm still going to go ahead with the favorite of Pantoja just because I think that Van has a couple things in this game that can be exploited that haven't fully been exploited yet that I think Pantoja can do a very good job of in this fight. So the pick is Pantoja. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be a great fight, but we're going to go to the boys here. And I think we're going to start with Joe. Joe, how do you see it?
Yeah, you and I definitely are not seeing lines the same way tonight. I think between the main and the co-main that this line is not wide enough, especially relative to the main. I'm sure that Van is getting a lot of quality wrestling in at his gym, East Succotash MMA, wherever the hell that is. I don't see any reason. I mean, I think a stiff breeze could take Van down. I don't see that Pantoja, he's wrestled anyone even close to Pantoja. Pantoja should be able to get his takedown, as you said, setting him up with leg kicks, throwing some swinging punches, getting him on his back foot. I think this is too much too soon for Van. However, you can play, again, if you have the opportunity and your book allows it, you can certainly play Pantoja by sub and Van by knockout. I don't necessarily see Van winning a 5-round decision here. If Van does win, despite the fact that Pantoja's never been knocked out, I think that's how Van likely would win this fight. Maybe Pantoja does get tired and he gets clocked, but you can make that bet. Pantoja, I see Pantoja winning this fight by submission, but there's no juice left in that line. I mean, it's like now I think it's like plus 150, which is not, there's not a lot of meat on the bone at plus 150, but I do think that's going to be the outcome here. Pantoja by submission. I think the line is not wide enough. So give me the cannibal.
I mean, fair enough on all of that, except the stiff breeze could take Van down. I don't know
where's he getting his quality wrestling in. I mean,
well, who has done that?
Okay, first of all, something was wrong with Royval. Well, let's agree on that. Like Royval had a clear path to victory in that fight by taking and he didn't even. I don't even know if he attempted a takedown, and I'd have to go rewatch it. Like trying to strike with Van, like that was just like, I don't know if it was bad coaching. I don't know if he was hurt and he didn't have the mobility to try takedowns, but like, I don't see Van as having great takedown defense. He was, and let's not forget, he was flatlined by Charles Johnson. Like, is he like exponentially better than when he fought Johnson? He's probably better, but is he exponentially, geometrically better? 10% better, 20% better? Like, I get it. This is the kind of guy that the UFC wants to market, right? He's got that ethnicity going, right? He's exciting. He's a striker. He can knock people out, right? Pantoja isn't the most exciting fighter in the world, but when he gets Van to the ground and throws that body lock on him and drains his energy and then ultimately finds his neck, will I have a few shares of Van? Sure. Am I going to hedge by betting Pantoja by submission, Van by knockout? Sure. But like, give me Pantoja all day at this line.
All right, fair enough. What about you, Drake? How you see the co-main?
Joe, you're out of your fucking mind.
I think
not
so.
not that Pantoja, not the part where Pantoja wins, but to say that his takedown defense is nothing. Ray Saruya, who is a phenomenal grappler, known for his Kimuras and as a junior Olympic wrestler, was 4 for 21 against him. You're out of your fucking mind.
That was a wash.
Horrible, absolutely horrible. To Chris's point, I think it's going to be the other way around. I think Van is going to pressure Pantoja backwards, and Pantoja is going to have to deal with something he's never dealt with before.
What's your over/under on takedowns?
3 or 4.
Assuming it goes the distance.
Yeah, I do think it goes the distance. I do think we see all 5, and I would put the number at 3 or 4.
Okay, I would go over if the fight goes the distance, but I don't think it's going to go the distance.
Anyways, I am obviously
on, and if it ends in a finish, then there's no bet. So we'll just bet decision over. I'll actually, let's say 3. You want to say 3.5? Or you want to say 4? What do you want to say? 3.5? So I need 4 to win.
Is there actual action going on here? Or what is
it doesn't have to be monetary. We could do something. We could do something else, but like we could have a bet. I'd say over 3.5. His wrestling has likely improved, but I mean, he's only been wrestling for like 4 years or 5 years. That's it.
Well, so okay, that takes me to my next point. I am obviously on Van in this fight. I'm not going to.
I know you are. I read your article this week.
There's just no way that I can go against him. Chris already knows I'm a huge fan of him. I've been on him every fight. This is one of my guys. Did you know that Joshua Van had no, and I mean literally zero, MMA experience before 2020?
Yeah, exactly.
This is one of the fastest rising. Anybody in MMA that we've ever seen. His rise has been exponential and it has been phenomenal. Whoever he trains with they know what they're doing. It's hard to train for a guy like Pantoja, given the skill set of, the champ. He's a champ for a reason. He's defended 4 or 5 times in a row now. There is no weakness to Pantoja's game, except for when he is put on his back foot. So I think that's what this fight comes down to, is who can put who on the back foot. And if Pantoja cannot get his takedowns to work, Van's full frontal strikes right down the middle is going to be the determining factor in this fight.
So do you have Van's UFC fights up? Like
I can.
Who were the 2 best fighters that he fought? Okay, this is a trick question, but the 2 best, not a trick question. This is an obvious answer. The 2 best fighters that he fought was Charles Johnson, who nuked him.
And Royval,
right?
Everybody, I mean, you can say all you want about the Charles Johnson fight. I mean, it's going to be brought up, but everybody can get knocked out.
I agree. And he was an 8.7K favorite in that fight. And he won his next 5. I mean, impressive. I get it. But like the quality of competition, I mean,
that's the whole point of this, though. He's fought his way here, and this is where he's at. I mean, who else is he supposed to fight? He's supposed to wait for Brandon Moreno?
No, I'm just saying that this is like, I think personally, and again, I'm reading between the lines here, that I think Van is just happy to have this opportunity. Like, I think he even himself realizes that, and I think he even said in an interview, and this was a quote. What was I supposed to do? Not take the fight and wait till I'm ready in the next 4 years? So I think he's happy just to have the opportunity to show up. I'm not saying he's not going to try to win, but to me, I think he knows, like, this is a huge step up for him, right? Look, I would be pretty shocked if he actually won this fight. It can happen.
He's the better boxer in this fight.
Oh, without doubt, he's the better boxer.
Pantoja hasn't had a knockout since 2019, so if Pantoja can't get his takedowns going, this fight.
Yeah, I just don't see any.
I just want to bring this back to center and say, Charles Johnson's a good fighter. Please,
he is.
Everybody, okay,
he's good, but he's had his issues too. In the UFC.
Banning about his name, like Charles Johnson. And Loner Kavanaugh backers probably thought that too. So. Look, Charles Johnson.
I was on Charles Johnson in that fight because I learned my lesson.
Yes, about Charles Johnson takes the O's. He takes the O's.
The only thing I have to say is, and we can move on to the main event, is that I would have loved to have seen what would have happened in the fight if Royval wrestled. I wish I knew whether he was hurt, whether he. I don't know what happened.
He's not a huge wrestler in any case, but
no, he's not a huge takedown guy.
No, but he's wrestled in his fights, right? He's had that. I mean, and the fact that knowing he was going to be outstruck, like, he didn't even try to go in that direction where he had a clear advantage. That just boggled my mind. I was screaming at the TV, "Wrestle, you idiot! Wrestle!" Like,
I would just say, look for the leg kicks from Pantoja. I think they're going to pay some dividends.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the main event now, which is. The rematch, Merab Dvalishvili 9,500 taking on Petr Yan 6,700, and I wrote this up earlier in the week too. If you watch that first fight between Merab and Yan does really well in any one particular phase against Merab. He can stuff some takedowns. He can get up after being taken down pretty well. He can counter strike after dodging strikes, but he cannot deal with the pace. He cannot deal with the pressure, and he gets swallowed up. Petr Yan's entire career has been waiting to see how the fight develops, building into the fight round by round. Merab does not let you do that. It's just a horrible style matchup for Petr Yan. It's just not the way he wins fights at all. Again, Petr Yan is going to have rounds here that look close, that look competitive, but Merab is going to pull away from this eventually.
Can he win one round, Chris? Can Petr Yan win one round?
Can he win? I'll give him 1 round. He can win an early round. He'll win the first or second round.
I don't.
But,
Greg doesn't think so, but I was just curious what you thought.
Yeah, no, I can give him 1 round.
It's going to feed into how I look at this fight.
I can give him 1 round. I think that's fair. But the 1 round that he wins, it's going to be really nip and tuck. Like he landed 2 or 3 better strikes. So it would be that kind of close. But I do think this fight can look competitive in spots, but ultimately I just think Merab's going to run away from it. I don't see any reason to think that this fight looks a whole lot different from the last one, to be particularly honest. And I think that this fight shouldn't have been his. I think that we know who the rightful rematch should have been and is not, but hopefully Umar gets his next.
He did. Are you going to comment on how Yan at least won the trash talk narrative?
No, why?
Did you see that? The whole thing about Merab inviting him in his hot tub at his house in Las Vegas, and Yan saying, "There's all men in your hot tub. I don't want to be part of that." Like,
no, I didn't.
That was hilarious. I mean, I think Merab was like, "How do I answer that question?"
I didn't.
Merab is surrounded by women all the time, so that doesn't.
I know. Just it's not in his house.
No, it's just not in his house. No, but I do think that this is Merab's fight. I think ultimately it goes kind of like the first one, where Merab just kind of swallows him up over time. But we'll see what the boys think, and I think we start with Drake. Drake, how you see it?
I'm obviously gonna be a Merab backer. There's no doubt about that. Although Petr Yan was one of the first big UFC fighters that I really got attached to when I started watching the sport. I remember watching some of his early fights, like in ACB before, like you had to actually go and find those fights. And I like I said, I grew really attached to him. So I have a really big soft spot for Yan. And I do still think that he's a phenomenal fighter. And I think that he could beat anybody in this division not named Merab. And the reason that I don't think that he can win a round is because he is notoriously slow. He is notoriously known as a counter striker. And Merab is not. He's the complete opposite. So, I mean, it's usually the first 2 rounds that someone would typically, get a round off of somebody in a round, a 5-round fight, because Merab's cardio is not going to wear off later. I will say, if Yan can land, like a liver shot like O'Malley did, that could change the whole fight, because then his cardio goes to shit. And I would say Yan is a much better striker than Merab. So there is avenues for Yan to win this fight. I am not going to be ultra confident in Merab, because like I have been in every other fight because of that. Yan is way too good. He's got one of the best fight IQs minus that DQ that he had in the UFC. And, I wouldn't put money. I wouldn't put all my money on Dvalishvili for this fight. Yan is too good. He's too smart. Ultimately, I do have Merab winning, but it's I think a little tighter than people think.
Yeah, no, like I said, I was surprised when I went back and watched that first fight, how competitive it actually looked, as opposed to what the numbers actually were. But I do think over time you're going to look up and you're going to see that discrepancy again. You're going to kind of wonder where it all went awry, and it's going to be in that pace and that pressure. Joe, I see this fight.
Yeah, so first, I think Yan actually broke in that fight. I think Merab actually broke him, literally broke him. Like, as close as it may have seemed on paper, I didn't actually see the fight that way. I saw Yan just absolutely dejected, at 49 takedown attempts and 11 takedowns. And he was almost like starstruck. Like, I can't believe this is happening to me again. Now, with that said, and I love Merab. He's probably my favorite fighter. The idea that you could weaponize cardio and win a fight. However, I do think Yan is more live in this fight than he was in the last fight for a couple of reasons. One is, again, Yan was perhaps injured. He says that his hand, he could barely move his hand. He couldn't get any power in his strikes. Merab is making weight for the fourth time in 2025. The line is very wide at -400. I think in the first fight, Merab was plus 200 underdog, which I was obviously on Merab. I love Merab. The bet I was looking at earlier in the week is Yan plus 5.5 points, plus 140, meaning that if Yan wins a round, if he wins a round, you get paid plus 140. Unfortunately, other people have seen that, and that number is now plus 120. So the other thing is, Merab is going to be in a lot of parlays. And it's so much easier to hedge your parlays with an underdog than it is with a favorite. So you're parlaying Merab, you could actually partially hedge by playing Yan plus 120 plus 5.5 points and cash both bets if Yan wins one round. So yeah, I'm likely going to have Merab in my parlays. I'm either going to bet or use the plus 120 as a hedge because it's going to come down to the final fight and having Merab at -400. So, and I am also going to build several lineups with Yan at 6.7K because that opens up a lot. I'm picking Merab. I mean, I'm picking Merab, but I can make a better case for Yan now, I think, in this fight than even though he was a favorite than in the fight the first time.
Yeah, the fourth weight cut this year is an interesting note. Nothing seems
I honestly don't think the weight cuts matter to Merab at all.
I was going to say nothing seems to affect Merab. So
yeah, you could be right.
Any other fighter? Well, let's just say any other fighter that would be something to look at.
And now he's training in Vegas. So
I think Merab is just a completely different animal. I don't think he's human.
Yeah,
like you said, he's the machine.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, but that is going to be the end of our breakdown. We're going to move in now to hot takes. If you don't know what this is, we take lines that we think aren't sufficiently juiced or not juiced enough. We give them to you, present them to you as bets that you could potentially make, and bring them to you here. And we're going to say them now, but if you have any in the chat, type them out, and I will read them as we say ours. As for me, I'm just going to go straight and simple. Let's say Peyton Talbot knocks out Henry Cejudo plus 300. Boys, you have any hot takes for me?
You go first, Drake.
All right. I don't usually do 5, pick parlays, but I really, really like this one. I have Bogdan Guskov because obviously that's, my bet of the week. And I could have added Nemov to this. I didn't. I might myself for a 6. But Baranowski, I have Sadikov, and then I've got 2 fights to go over 1.5 rounds. I've got Jalen Turner and Barbosa, and then Grant Dawson and Torres. And it's about 27.50. And I, for what it is, I really like it.
Interesting. 27.50, 100 for 27.50?
Uh-huh.
Oh, nice. All right. Joe, what do you got?
Yeah, I unfortunately don't have anything. Like I usually like to chase parlays where I could bet like $100 to win 1,000. I don't really have anything like that right now. I mean, I have Moreno at plus money, parlayed with Pantoja. You could juice that up by playing Pantoja by sub or Pantoja by finish, which I believe is -125. Let's do that just because it'll give you a little bit more of a payout. So we put in Moreno plus 102. We do Pantoja by finish at plus 120. Now remember, he's plus 150 by sub. So by playing plus 120, you're getting some knockout leverage. And then Merab by decision. I don't know if there's a lot of meat on the bone there. I think Merab by decision is like -250 or something like that, -225. So we will play Merab by decision. So we've got Moreno money line plus 102. We got yes for Pantoja to win by knockout or submission plus 120. And we got Merab to win by decision minus 225. That pays 5.4 to 1.
All right, good stuff. Joe, just wanted to highlight user letters, numbers. He says, hot take parlay, Torres plus McKinney by KO plus 1,400.
It's not the most outrageous thing I've seen.
Yeah, no, two knockout artists. For sure.
Yeah, Torres and okay. I gotta play that actually.
Oh wow, see that?
Thank you. Actually, tell us like, give us a hint as to what your real name might be, or at least your first name.
Thank you, Mr. User. Look, you have influenced Joe, the prop maker himself.
I'm gonna put a bet in.
Good job there, sir.
That was Torres by KO, and it was McKinney by KO, right?
Yes, it was. And he says to call him Zoltanite.
Zoltanite. Got it.
All right, good job,
Thank you, brother.
Zoltanite. Absolutely.
I'm gonna call him
Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, we can call him Z.
Z is good.
Call him Z.
All right, but no, guys, that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching, checking us out. If you like what you see here, give us a thumbs up. Give us a follow on the channel there. It definitely helps out. Otherwise, we will be in the chat. Or I'm sorry, in our chat, but also on Twitter, breaking down every fight. Talking about it for the last review of the year, and of course, we will be back next year for the numbered cards, no longer called pay-per-views. So we are not going away. We will be right back here for UFC 324 at the beginning of the year and UFC 325 the following week. So we will see you then. Until then, enjoy the cards, and thank you so much for hanging out once again.
Peace.